Settle down now, kids.
Yeah.
There's a factory we're coming out. Like herding cats. Good morning. I would like to welcome everybody to the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency Board Meeting. We're at BWB Building, 201 West 3rd Street, Jamestown. And we're also streaming live via YouTube and Zoom, November the 19th at 10:30. Go ahead and do roll call. Gary Henry's here. Brad Walters.
Here.
Sagan Sheffield Smith. Dan DeMart. Here. Kevin Muldowney.
Here.
Amy Harding.
Here.
Dan Hetzenrader. Here. Thank you. You should have already received the October 22nd, 2024 minutes, had a chance to review those. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
Make that motion.
Who is that?
Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Sagan, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes have been approved. We'd like to welcome DJ Wendell, the county executive, here this morning. Is there anything you'd like to share with us?
No. Quiet today.
Great. Well, thank you for coming.
Mark it down.
Reporter's here to do.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and move right into new business A. LTEC EDA CRLF funding for Artone LLC presented by Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Loan Review Committee voted to recommend to the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency on their November 14th, 2024 meeting to authorize an LTEC loan, EDA CARES Act funding or CRLF funding to Artone LLC. The amount of the loan is $240,000. It's for a term of 6 years, and the funds will be used to purchase equipment. The new equipment will allow for Artone to keep their competitive edge, and the market is heading toward a new type of equipment. Their market being the hotel industry. They also have requirements on edging, so the new equipment goes along with that. It's a $600,000 project. They are putting in equity into the project of $60,000 and $240,000 is our loan. And the remainder is a lease with Bessie Company. It's a $1 buyout, so the lease, they actually will own the equipment on the lease. The Loan Review Committee also recommended for security a subordinate lien position on all business assets, including but not limited to furniture, fixtures, machinery, and equipment, including new and future equipment that they purchase. Inventory and accounts receivable. There is an unconditional corporate guarantee of Artone Holdings LLC, which owns all the companies that go out and the arm of it. They have, the Loan Review Committee recommended that personal guarantees and life insurance assignments are to be waived. They also recommended that the commitment and financing documents of other lenders are to be satisfactory to the CCIDA. At this time, are there any questions? There's three, if you're thinking about the machinery that will keep the competitive edge, there's three of them. One, the markets are heading to curved molding shapes. They need to do that. That is actually recommended by the hotel industry now. Artone just celebrated 50 years. And they also, just in the past few days after the Loan Review Committee, were awarded a very big Disney contract. And this machinery is about to be ordered will be beneficial to that contract. So at this time, I guess, are there any questions from the board or anyone? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll hand it back to you.
Brad, would you go ahead and move new business A1 for us?
Resolution 11-19-24-01 of the members of the County Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency to approve an LTEC EDA CARES Act and CRLF loan to Artone LLC.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Brad Walters,
Aye.
Megan Sheffield Smith,
Aye.
Dan Demart,
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney,
Aye.
Amy Harding,
Aye.
Etzenrader.
Aye.
And the resolution is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move into new business B, Wells Enterprises Incorporated, presented by Rosie and Millen.
Thank you. Back in October, the board approved a resolution for due diligence for Wells Enterprises. We're considering this project phase 3 of all the projects they brought before the IDA. As a refresher, this is a multi-million-dollar addition to their facility totaling 133,000 square feet. This expansion will include a segregated compound facility, a chocolate plant, and increased production space with the creation of 20 new jobs and the retention of 388 jobs. Total project cost is $175 million. They are requesting a 10-year pilot for this project, which would include sales tax exemption and property. The pilot will produce payments to the affected taxing jurisdictions over the life of the project, the amount of $2.2 million, with the total tax exemptions at $5.5 million and sales tax savings of just over $6 million. I do believe Spencer from CBRE is on the line, as well as Leslie and Adam. Would you guys like to provide any updates to the project, if there are any?
Hi, this is Adam Baumgartner on behalf of Wells. I think I appreciate the opportunity here. We are on track with our project. Everything continues to be moving forward very well, and we couldn't be more excited about what's to come. We're looking forward to hopefully seeing our first new product rolling off the lines in August, approximately, of 2025. So just sincere appreciation to the CCIDA for your support for what we're doing, and we look forward to celebrating that with you when we get into next year.
Thank you, Adam.
Yep.
Before I pass it on to Millen to go over the resolutions, I do want to note that we did have a public hearing on November 12th at SUNY Fredonia. There were no public comment. And if there's no questions, I'll go ahead and pass it on to Millen to go over the resolutions.
Okay, there's actually two resolutions. The first is the secret resolution. The second is the authorizing resolution. Since this is pursuant to your UTEP, there's no deviation. So this is going to be your straight out of your UTEP for the 10-year real estate tax exemption if approved. And it would only apply to the addition. And this is a vertical additions, which is going to be on top of what they're building now. So it's going to go straight up. So it doesn't increase the footprint. And that's important in terms of the seeker resolution. The seeker resolution is technically a type 1 because it's more than 100,000 square feet. However, since the board has twice looked at this project already in terms of most of the environmental effects, many of the documents that we reviewed, you've reviewed before. So the seeker is a type 1, which requires a quote coordinated review. Now, usually that's a long lead time because we have to give notice to all of the other municipalities and others that have to make a decision. In this case, Wells is far enough down the line, they have all the permits and approvals, so we are the last agency. So there's no one else to notify, even though it's a type 1. The resolution goes through each of the possible environmental effects, and staff and council recommend the board pass the resolution, which includes a negative declaration, meaning that any negative environmental effects have been mitigated to the extent possible. And then the second is the authorizing resolution, authorizing us to move forward with the sales tax and real estate tax exemption, as Rosie mentioned. Again, no deviation. Public hearing was held. We don't see any issues from a financing or legal documentation perspective. Again, we've been through this twice before. The only interesting thing here is that this pilot will be for 10 years, so it'll be a slightly different term than the existing pilot. But that's really for the assessor to sort of worry about assessing the two halves of the building. And I think that's it.
Any questions from the board?
You can call me 10 years from now.
Yeah, and I will put in the required clause that once a year, the new chocolate has to be delivered to the IPA for quality assurance.
Right.
And, don't worry, we'll slip that in someplace.
Thank you. Sagan, can you move new business B1 for us?
Absolutely. Resolution 11-19-24-02, Wells Enterprises, Inc., secret resolution, and Resolution 11-19-24-03, Wells Enterprises, Inc., authorizing resolution.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Brad? Go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Brad Walters?
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith?
Aye.
Dan Demart?
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney? Amy Harding?
Aye.
Dan Hetzenrader? Aye. And the resolution is approved with one abstention. So certainly want to thank Wells for the expansion that they're doing. It's certainly exciting to see these new lines and to hear they're going to be coming on next year. And so we wish you the best.
Thank you so much, and we'll do our best to deliver on the chocolate and ice cream request that was shared. Ice cream for all. We love it. Yep. Thank you.
so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Next, we'll move into new business C, Dunkirk Solar One LLC and Dunkirk Solar Two LLC, again presented by Rosie and Millen.
Thank you. Before I get into the project, I do want to note that the agenda you have in front of you, resolution number wise is correct, but you may notice the resolutions in your packets are slightly off. I estimated the number of resolutions that would be required for these two projects, but we will make sure those are corrected after the fact. The board approved due diligence resolutions for Dunkirk Solar One and Dunkirk Solar Two LLC. But as a refresher, these two projects are in combination a 9.8 megawatt AC solar farm on approximately 56 acres located in the town of Dunkirk at 3761 East Lake Road in Dunkirk. Total project costs for these combined is over 22 million. We are seeing a 25-year pilot, which is a deviation from our standard UTEP. No mortgage recording tax, but there is sales tax, of course, property tax abatement. The pilot will produce payments to the affected taxing jurisdictions over the life of the project in the amount of 1.3 million, with exemptions totaling 2.4 million, and sales tax abatement at 900,000. On November 12th, there was a public hearing for both these projects with no public comment. I do have Dan Leary, Matt Effler, and I also have Brandon Cottrell on the line from Catalyze. They can provide any updates if the board has any questions. If not, I would then pass it on to Millen to discuss the resolutions being presented.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask, usually the local municipalities in favor of the project, or?
Yes, thank you for asking, Dan. Yes, the town is in support of these two projects. This has been in the works with them for a number of years. Thank you for asking.
Okay, let's do the deviation hearings on both of them. Notice was sent on November 1st to each of the affected municipalities. We've not received any written comments, so now is the time for any representative of any of the affected tax jurisdictions to comment on these two applications. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. To explain why the resolution numbers are a little bit confused, in this case, since the town did SECRA on both of them together, our SECRA folks thought that we should do the same thing. And again, this is much similar to Wells in that because of the number of acres being, quote, disturbed, this qualifies as a type 1, which requires a coordinated review. And yet again, the town didn't notice the IDA, which would have been great because then we would be bound by their secret determination. Because we weren't, we have to do our own independent secret determination. So that means, and you can see in the secret resolution, the list of documents that we've looked at, et cetera, and you won't be surprised to hear that we recommend coming to the same conclusion that the town did, which is that you should pass the secret resolution and issue a negative declaration, concluding that any environmental effects have been satisfactorily mitigated. But again, there's one for both projects, and that's why the numbering is off, typically to be one for each. So there's two deviation resolutions. You'll see the notice letters in your packets. This amounts to, similar range of the pilot that we've seen for other solar projects, 4,150 per megawatt. And again, we had the public hearing, the deviation hearing a minute ago, and have not received any negative feedback from any of the affected tax jurisdictions. Then there is one secret resolution for both projects. Again, that's in your package. And finally, an approving resolution for each of the two projects. Because from our perspective, we document them separately. They're separate entities, they're separate projects. Secret is the only reason that they are sort of tied together. So those are the 5 resolutions that are currently before the board.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none. Dan DeMart, can you move new business C2 for us?
All 5?
Yes, please.
I'm gonna guess that's my quarter. All right, here we go. Move to approve resolution 11-19-24-04. Dunkirk Solar One LLC deviation approval resolution. Resolution 11-19-24-05, Dunkirk Solar One LLC and Dunkirk Solar Two LLC SECRA. And resolution 11-19-24-06, Dunkirk Solar One LLC authorizing resolution. And resolution 11-19-24-07, Dunkirk Solar Two LLC deviation approval resolution. And resolution 11-19-24-08, Dunkirk Solar Two authorizing.
Well done. Thank you. Do we have a second? Sagan? We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry, aye. Brad Walters.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Dan DeMart.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
The resolutions are unanimously approved. Just reading through that long list, as long as that resolution was, it does point out, I'd like to thank the staff and the council for all the work that goes into these projects. There's a lot involved in them, and certainly you do an excellent job. We'll go ahead and move into new business D, SL Jamestown LLC and SL Jamestown 2 LLC, presented by Rosie and Millen.
Thank you. So SL Jamestown and SL Jamestown 2 LLC have been in the works with the town for over 2 years. The town is in support of these 2 solar projects. For an overview, SL Jamestown is a 4.75 megawatt AC solar farm, and SL Jamestown 2 is a 3 megawatt solar AC farm located on 28.2 acres in the town of Busti at 1192 Orr Street, Jamestown, New York. Total project cost combined is 19.6 million. They are asking for a 25-year pilot, which again is a deviation from our standard UTEP policy for sales tax abatement and property tax. The pilot will produce payments to the affected taxing jurisdictions over the life of the project in the amount of $868,820, with a total exemption of 2.1 million and sales tax abatement at only 1.2 million. Resolutions before you, I will let Millen explain, but I do have Janet Ward and Brandon Cottrell on the line. If you guys would like to provide an overview of your project and address if there is a decommissioning bond in place with the town.
Yes, this is Janet Ward from Catalyze. The project is as you said, 2 separate solar projects co-located on 1192 Orr Street. The point of interconnection is an overhead distribution line that runs through the middle of the property. So the poles that are added are located close to that line and not near the Orr Street driveway entrance. The site does have an existing natural gas pipeline and natural gas wellhead, and the solar projects have been designed to take these into account, and the agreements are all in place with the natural gas company. A landscaping visual buffer has been added in the project design. There is an existing vegetative buffer on the northern property line, and a landscaping buffer was added and then expanded at the request of the town of Busti, and the town has approved that plan. A decommissioning plan and decommissioning bond in the value of $780,012 has been approved by the town of Busti, and the town of Busti is in possession of the decommissioning bond and has confirmed the acceptance. And we anticipate commercial operation in Q2 of 2025. And this is due to a utility interconnection that needs to be completed on the utility scale or utility side of the project.
Thank you, Janet. Are there any questions for Janet? Millen, if you're okay with going over the resolutions.
Sure. There are two resolutions, one for each project. Again, this is just the due diligence resolution, which is the start of the process, and it authorizes and instructs staff and council to start doing the due diligence, including the requisite public hearing, the requisite notice to the effective tax jurisdictions if there will be a deviation. And since I think all of your solar projects have been deviations, I expect it to be the same thing here, but we'll negotiate what the actual pilot amount would be, discussing it with the affected tax jurisdictions, et cetera, before we send that notice out, and doing SECRA. I don't know if this is going to be a combined SECRA, just like we just saw a minute ago, or they will be separate, but we will do all that due diligence if the resolutions pass before bringing it back to the board as a nice little package all wrapped up and ready for your approval. So again, this doesn't commit the IDA to anything other than it authorizes and instructs staff and council to do the due diligence required.
Any questions? Hearing none. Kevin, can you move new business D1 for us?
Sure. Resolution 11-19-24-09 SL Lake Jamestown LLC due diligence resolution and preliminary agreement, and resolution 11-19-24-10 SL Jamestown 2 LLC due diligence resolution and preliminary agreement.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Brad Walters.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Dan Hetzenrager.
Aye.
And so the resolutions are unanimously approved.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to make a comment here about these renewable energy projects or any other project for that matter. There was a editorial yesterday in the Post Journal about, why is the IDA, offering incentives to these renewable energy projects? They don't create jobs, et cetera. And again, we are a tool of the municipalities. If the municipalities don't want us to provide these incentives, we won't. So again, we're agnostic on all these projects, again, if the municipality comes to us and says, yeah, we really want this project and we want you to offer the incentives, then we're obliged to do so. So we're not picking these, we're not reaching out to these developers. They're coming to us through the municipalities and asking for us to do these projects. So I just wanted to make that clear and try to clear the air a little bit on that.
Good point. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes.
I think this project isn't really intended as such, but I think it's something that I wish we can get cleared through to the governor and open her eyes and start to look at these as energy fields. If you're going to take up acre upon acre of what some would argue is farmland or viable, if not, then in this case, you have a natural gas well on the property. Why not start looking at renewable as well as, the fossil fuel? I think it's inherent, we have an abundance of natural gas. Start tapping into creating what they call would be an energy project or energy field where you've got solar along with fossil fuel. I think we realize that, gas can be clean burning. It can be much more efficient than it has in the past. But I think it doubles the value, if not starts to expand these projects. Right now, that property is going to be utilized with solar. Whereas, if you were able to tap into, we spoke of this last week at the project meeting. I think there's just opportunity getting that through to the eyes of Albany to realize, unique prospect. But I think there's ways to expand, these because again, my biggest fear respectfully of all these developers is what happens when these things go down in 15, 20, 30 years, see these solar fields that are just there. Yes, I know we talk about decommissioning plans, but it's a grave concern of mine. And I just wish we could expand, what we're doing for energy, not only renewable, but also our current fossil fuels. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move into new business E1. Monofrax track expansion and rehabilitation project presented by Rich, Rosie, and Millen.
Thank you. In October 2023, we became aware of the New York State DOT Passenger and Freight Rail Assistance Program with approximately 2 weeks before its application deadline. Monofrax reached out to us with their interest to access that grant in order to make improvements to their existing rail, but needed the assistance of the IDA to apply for the grant because it could not flow directly through the company. It had to go through either a rail company, federal government, public authority, etc. So with a lot of hard work on our end and some crucial assistance from Western New York and Pennsylvania Railroad Corporation, we were able to get the application submitted within the deadline. In early 2024, we received notice from New York State DOT that we were awarded the $1,082,011.94 requested that Monofrax needed in order to move forward with their project. So these funds will be used towards the rehabilitation and expansion of their existing track. This will increase rail car access and reduce road traffic, which aligns with the state's goals to reduce emissions. Currently, Monofrax averages 54 rail cars per year. This project will help meet their need to support about 1,500 rail cars per year. Additionally, this project will help increase productivity and efficiencies at the plant and provide the means of growth, which supports job retention and job creation. Does anyone have any questions before I pass it on to Rich and Millen? Okay. Rich, do you have any?
Great job.
Thank you. Millen, if you want to go over the resolution.
Sure. This is a combined seeker and approving resolution. The approving part is easy. Let's take the money. Right? That's easy. The seeker is also fairly easy. It's an unlisted action. As the seeker resolution points out, it disturbs 1,100 square feet or 0.02 acres. This is not a big lift in terms of environmental, and it's to refurbish an existing rail line. So, it's not going to have a tremendous effect on the environment other than more rail cars in, but that's, sort of transient. So that's the seeker resolution. We recommend that it's an unlisted action and that it does not have a substantial negative adverse effect on the environment. And the resolution, as I said, also approves accepting the grant money.
Thank you.
And also, Millen, according to the company, the more rail they use, the less trucks they use, which is very environmental friendly. But getting all those truckloads off the road, rail is a lot more friendly or environmentally per pound than a semi. So.
And did you say they currently use 50 and they want to go to 1,500?
They're averaging 54 rail cars per year for 1,560.
So that's pretty dramatic.
Yes, a huge.
Increase, yeah.
Definitely helps the railroad too.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
nice, for sure.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none. Amy, can you move new business E1 for us?
Resolution 11-19-24-11, Monofrax Rail Grant, Secra and approving resolution.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Kevin, thank you. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Brad Walters. Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Dan DeMart.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
And the resolution is unanimously approved. Again, I'd like to thank the staff, on very short notice, these things come up and they always respond quickly and, great benefit to our community.
Especially Rose. Nice job on that. Yeah.
Thank you. Next, we'll move into the executive director's report.
Yeah, I'm gonna be very quick here because we got a lot on our agenda, so I'm gonna fly through these. Last week, the White Inn had their soft opening. I was out of town, but Rich and Nate both attended and it was wonderful. So we're really thrilled about that being open and what a great addition to downtown Fredonia and all the work that we all did collectively to make that happen. Kudos to everyone. Electronically last week announced that they received $52 million in financing from the Export-Import Bank, which means that they're going to be able to start up operations there. It's going to create 252 jobs in the old Accurite facility that's half vacant for 4 or 5 years. And PJ was been a part of all that, and that's thrilling. Yesterday we held Live Choose CHQ event at the Harbor Hotel. We sort of, we invited a number of businesses, their HR people. We had about 84, I believe, HR representatives from different businesses. And we sort of rolled out what it is and how they can use it and how we can help them in the recruitment efforts. And it's really to sort of tell the story about what a great place this is to live, work, and learn. So that went really, really well. Nice job, Jason and staff on that. We're supporting New York State Economic Development Council is doing a IDA's impact report, if you will. They're working with a professional firm that's gonna really look at the collective impact of all the IDAs across the state and what type of job creation and economic development and have that report in hand, because every year they're trying to push back on the IDAs and so I'm glad that we can support that. I think that's very important. Right now in our loan fund, we're very low, we're very tight on money, which is a good and a bad thing, right? Got that all lent out. It's doing very well, but unfortunately we don't have a lot of money to lend right now. So we gotta moving forward on that. There was a nice article in the Buffalo Business First last week about Chautauqua County. Very, very positive. Talked about Cummins, I think Electronically Wells, interviewed. We had a meeting here the week before last with the Buffalo Business First director and some of his staff, and we had the development director, Vince DeJoy from Dunkirk and Crystal Sertic from Jamestown and Greg Edwards and Ellen DeTanto and us. And we talked about all the stuff we have going on. So that went really well. I'm excited about that. Oh, I meant to say up there with our Live CHQ campaign, we also, version 3 of the relocation guide, we printed 3,000 more of those. So we keep tweaking it and making it better. We also now have an ambassador program where there's about a dozen ambassadors that can help businesses with sort of wining and dining, if you will, prospective candidates for job positions based on what their likes and dislikes are. So that's kind of cool. And also working with the chamber on gift baskets. And by the way, Brad was there yesterday. Kevin was there. Dan was there. Dan Heitzenreiter. So thank you all for coming. And I guess last but not least, great work by the staff. I mean, this doesn't just happen, all this stuff in our legal counsel, Millen, everybody. Awesome work. Thank you. Any questions?
I noticed I don't know about the rest of you, but I always enjoy on the weekend reading the commentary by Roland Kidder. And so I don't know if anybody else read that, but I think we ought to hire him, to help promote the county, live, work in Chautauqua County, because pretty much all the same points, he brought up maybe from a little different perspective, but there's a lot we have to offer and we just have to get the word out there. So. Yeah. Next, we'll go ahead and move into the treasurer's report. Rich?
Okay,
So I will be doing October's report and I will be doing November's report and then Shelby will be doing December's report and so forth.
Ready? Drum roll, please.
So we turn our attention to the balance sheet for the IDA. Just what Mark said, that if we look at our loan funds there, our cash balances are low. We've got some money committed and to go out, so it's a good and a bad of it. We're lending it out, it's coming back. Not much left. IDA is in a very good cash position, along with our receivables. I would turn your attention to the notes receivable. We have outstanding loans of $21 million. And we have a bad debt reserve of 4.2. That's 19.15%. Okay, so I didn't pile any more on there. Didn't think it was appropriate, even though the budgeted amount is a little more than that. Last year, the accountants settled on 15. Again, they have this huge spreadsheet that they got from the Federal Reserve where they'll put all the loans in and they come up, spit out some magic number that we will review with Shelby and Mark at the end of the year and the audit committee to see where the reserve should be, but 20% is a lot, and we'll talk more about the loans when we get to executive session, but that's a big number. So we need to get it any bigger.
Rich, if you reduce that number, that will create more money to lend.
No, that number is just, it's not a cash entry. You expense it and you put it in as a liability, so what it would do, if you decrease the number, it increases your revenue, but not cash. There's no cash with bad debt reserve. You're just estimating of that $20 million, how many of those loans you think will go bad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only time you get rid of it, you lose cash is when you actually write a loan off.
Right.
You hit it against bad debt, so it doesn't get expensed, but it does reduce the amount of cash that you have owed you and coming back, so.
Rich, if you had to guess over the last 3 or 4 years, what is our actual amount that we're having to write off? Probably in the closer to 5% or less?
Yeah, I would think so, Mark. It's
Yeah.
certainly under 10.
Yeah.
And, I did an analysis one time of all the EDA reports I can put my hands on for Erie County, for other places around New York State. We were right in the middle, but we were on the more conservative side of having more good loans. And there were some places that every other loan they made went bad. And that, EDA wants the money to be somewhat risky, but on the other side of the coin, this fund, we've been able to over the years help a lot of businesses. So we don't want to just make those really risky ones, so we're right in the middle, probably a little more conservative than most. Yeah. Not as good as some of the banks, but again, we're not a bank. We do take some riskier loans, and it's amazing. As all of our collateral, we are second on everything. So typically when it goes bad, we're not going to get a dime. But again, that's one of the beauties for me is letting the bank do most of the work on the loans, on the due diligence, because even if a bank's only in for 40% of the deal, they're not going to do it if they don't think they're going to get paid or it just creates bedlam for them when they have to foreclose, put something in special assets. Rules at the banks are just horrendous for them, as your son will tell you, right, Mark?
Yeah.
That's all on the balance sheet. Turning to revenue and expense. A couple things there. Again, to Millen's point, if we look at the CARES Act showing a loss, that's because we've expensed $104,000 in bad debt. Now, that's not a cash expense. That just goes against the balance sheet into the bad debt reserve. So cash flow wise, those are all doing good. And again, we're stopping that expensing any more bad debt. We'll see what the auditors come up with during the audit. IDA is showing a slight loss, which between some timing of salary allocations, and also we have some 4 or 5 more projects that we hope to close. Kayla's looking for a wire for one today, as a matter of fact. So
Check that I think is in my office.
check's in your office. That's not in the mail. So everything's in good shape there. We turn to the variance report. I will just say that this is complicated in the last year and a half, thanks to Mark and Nate, the good work they do securing all these grants from different funding sources.
You're welcome.
So as you can see, our application administrative revenue will be above budget. North County Industrial is a little bit below the spending there because we were just guessing when we would do all those expenses. We have the money to do it. It's in the, on the balance sheet as deferred revenue. So that's just, we haven't spent it quite as fast. We did buy some property in there too. Same thing with the business and tourism development. We have to catch up with the expense and the revenue for those. Down under the expense, just a few variances here that the payroll and benefits, we do have some more salary allocations to do. Some of these salaries will be going to CREDC, but we are double dipping in my position, so that will be a little above this year. Our professional fees, we've had some professional fees that I would consider one-time events that we didn't budget for. We had some expenses with the ABO. We had two projects that we worked on over the last 4 to 5 years that we ended up having to assume some of the legal costs on that to close them out to move forward. One of them was the Silver Creek School we have a new developer now. And the other one was the former owners of the brewery. We had a tax lease in place there and it took us forever to terminate it. It was just, so that's a one-off there. And then, insurance will be, as we add by property, our insurance goes up. So that's the variance there. We had some under publicity and promotion. One of the things there that we have done is next year we're budgeting publicity and promotion, professional services, and publicity and promotion regular. Historically, our publicity and promotion has been buy an ad in the paper, buy an ad in first, do this, do that. Now we're actually hiring people to do work for us on marketing campaigns. So some of those expenses that were in publicity and promotion would actually be professional fees, and we've broken it out next year, getting a little more refined on them. The grant expense for Mason, we have the revenue up above to cover that, so that was just more money going out. As you remember, Mark was able to secure $90,000 approximately from the county, and we matched that to do some more work at Mason Park, and we've spent some of that. So that's why that's a little bit above, but we will get the revenue for half of that. And again, I think we're going to be on track for another great year here, and things are rolling. Good job, Mark and Nate and everybody, Kayla and the whole team. That's it. Unless you have any questions, Randy.
We have a motion to accept the treasurer's report. Sagan, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brad. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The treasurer's report has been accepted. At this point, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the financial or credit history of a particular person or corporation. In particular, I would like to discuss the status of our loan portfolio and the financial and credit status of some of our borrowers. Do I hear such a motion? Thank you, Kevin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll go into executive session. We are back in open session. I would like to report that there were no actions or votes taken during executive session, and therefore no minutes of the meeting were taken. I have one more item I'd like to have in new business, and so I would like to move a resolution. This is resolution number 11-19-24-13, Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency. We would like to authorize a contract. Mark Geis is the Chief Executive Officer of the IDA. Whereas the county IDA wishes to contract with Mark Geis to serve as the CEO of the IDA in an annual amount of $79,301 payable in biweekly installments, plus a mileage allowance of $1,000 per month and reimbursement for gasoline used while driving for work. Do I have a second on that motion? Thank you, Sagan. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Brad Walters.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith. Dan Demart.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
And so the resolution is unanimously approved. And the board asked me to share with you how much they appreciate what you're doing. It's phenomenal, not only what you're doing for our county, the way you work with the staff, the way you deal with the board, just everything you do is just really appreciated by the board, and we don't always tell you enough how much we appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. And, you know, we have such a great staff and hopefully, I'd like to think we have a really good culture and we continue to build that culture. We have a lot of really good young talent. So the future looks bright. We've got great legal representation. We have great leadership at the county level and at the board level. So really appreciate everybody. And thank you so much for approving this contract with me.
Do we have any old business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. The next IDA board meeting will be December the 17th at 10:30. We'll be meeting in Fredonia, or Dunkirk rather, at the Center for Innovation and Economic Development. So just if you could make sure to send us out a reminder on that, so we all show up at the right place, we would appreciate
I'm
it.
sorry, Gary, you say next month's meeting is in Dunkirk?
That's what my notes say.
Yes.
December seventh,
Okay.
Yes.
December seventh.
Okay. That's different than I think, well, maybe on the website, right? This is,
The website has been corrected.
okay.
So that might just be an older version.
Oh,
Thank you.
like me, pal.
Not quite.
Okay. We'll go ahead and open the Board of Directors meeting for Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation. We're at the BWB Building, 201 West 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York. We're also streaming live on YouTube and Zoom. It's November the 19th, and it's currently 11:55. We'll go ahead and do roll call. Gary Henry's here. Brad Walters. Here. Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Here.
Dan Demart. Here. Kevin Muldowney.
Here.
Amy Harding.
Here.
Dan Hetzenrader. Here. You should have already received the minutes for the October 22nd meeting and had a chance to review those. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
Motion.
Thank you, Dan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brad. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes have been approved. We'll move into new business A, the resolution regarding, I can just read it. Resolution 11-19-24-12, the members of the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation approving entry into agreement with the Chautauqua County and local foundations for grant funding for the Chautauqua County Partnership for Economic Growth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just go through this really quickly. This is really just kind of an annual housekeeping resolution. The board authorizing us to accept this funding and to expend it. So the first funding award here that we anticipate approval by the Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation by the end of the year. Their fifth allocation of $100,000 the past 5 years. So this will be, $500,000 commitment from them to the partnership. Again, really just providing support for our administrative capacity and the operating expenses of the partnership. That will be for 2025. The Gebby Foundation provide $80,000. And again, that offsets some of our operating expenses specifically related to the Chautauqua River Activation Initiative. That will also be the, I believe, fourth year of that allocation. As Mark mentioned last month, we were approved for another 3-year grant for our Wilson support, amount of $1.625 million. This both supports the partnership's operating expenses and specific projects aligned with our economic development strategy. And then the last two, we anticipate approval by the county legislature tomorrow night. Again, $30,000 that primarily supports our contractual relationship with Jacob Bodway and all the work he does to leverage local and philanthropic funding to improve our trail and outdoor recreation assets. Again, we reported to the legislature last week, with Jacob's involvement, we've seen over $850,000 of investment in about the last 4 years or so. Trails. So we thank the county executive for his support of that allocation, as well as additional 50,000 also from our 3% occupancy tax, which is meant to help the partnership do its work related to community development, downtown revitalization, waterfront attraction. So with these 5 total awards, again, asking for your acceptance, it totals $1.89 million and again, puts us in a good position to keep doing what we're doing via the partnership.
Awesome. Thank you. Dan Hetzenrader, would you move new business A for us?
Gladly, I move resolution 11-19-24-12 of the members of the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation approving entry into agreement with Chautauqua County and local foundations for grant funding for the Chautauqua County Partnership for Economic Growth.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Brad Walters, Megan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
And so the resolution is unanimously approved. Great job, as always, Nate, the whole staff. I mean, it's just incredible the way you're able to leverage these resources for our county, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'll add to that too. I mean, what a great job. You know, the whole staff led by Nate, you know, it's Christy Kathman and there's Crystal Earhart, and there's Monica Simpson and Jason Sample and, you know, all of us collectively and Rebecca Worster. And there's about 100 different economic development stakeholders that have been involved in this in our 5 different work groups. And we meet quarterly and we develop projects and then we seek the funding to get them implemented. And so it's really been a huge success and I think a model for about how we did it and because they want to copy us. So good job. Great job, Nate.
And I would just like to, again, thank our team, but also the foundations and the county, for their support as well.
We have an executive director's report.
Nope.
Okay. Treasurer's report.
Yep. So we'll start with the credit balance sheet. Something I want to point out the cash flow is not unusual. Times they aren't funding for a bunch of things, but we have really good years that really offset that. So, and you can tell there's over 1.4 million in the notes receivable. So, it's CREDC is doing fine. Just kind of wonky with a negative cash flow at the moment. And then you also notice the 125,000 in Ralph Wilson, which Nate just discussed. That's our first distribution for the grant for the first 3 or for the 3-year contract, 1.625 million. So we'll get to, well, Nate and Crystal and et al. Is already in progress of getting that spent down some. We'll move on to the profit and loss. For CREDC and CPEG, again, it's not unusual for either of these funds to be a net negative throughout the year. A lot of it is just a timing issue with cash flow and whatnot. And CPEG has enough cash or revenue to cover their balance at the moment. So there's really no concern about the timing. And then in the Ralph Wilson Fund, there was some adjustments to reclass things in the professional fees column. So that's why you see that negative there, but that the profit and loss is zeroed out for the previous 3-year contract. And this will all start fresh once we start spending down that 125 plus for the next 3 years. So it'll all be cleared out and adjusted.
Thank you. Any questions?
I know we're here to answer questions, not ask them, but Kayla, how does CREDC have negative cash?
I would assume they were funded from other entities, correct, Kayla? So it's a classification, I guess. It's how,
Oh, I see. You take the total and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
allocating. it.
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, it's essentially CREDC works off of one bank account and the total is still a positive, but CREDC itself accounting for certain things is the negative.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is all, setting all this stuff up has been a real, it's been a challenge because we didn't have to track things like this
Mhm.
before. And with each and every funding source, you need to track them independently. And so setting up all these different fund codes and ledgers and tracking everything and there's different timing of when the money comes in and what's your annual, so it's been, but we're getting better and better. Right? Better and better. We're not perfect, but we're getting better and better. And now we're meeting monthly and talking through all these things and making sure that we're staying on top of it and fixing things where they're not right.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Brad, do we have a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report has been accepted. Any old business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll consider the CREDC meeting adjourned. Thank you.